and produce the expression in 39 slowly and carefully. So it looks like we see here not P as well as not Q that I have to start with. Then I also going to get that parentheses with R and not P. So that'd be my next step. And the actual very last step for the whole expression, which is going to be next to exercise 39. So let me refresh how this was done originally. So when I'm looking at P, then not P has to be its opposite, and the opposite of false will be true. So that was my first step. Now I'm going to look at Q, which happens to also be false, and the opposite of false is again going to be true. So that's the next piece. Now I'm looking at R as well as not P, at these two, and recall the story of how we produced this conjunction idea. So with P and a Q that always range the same way, T, F, F, T, and F, F, we defined P and Q. So now this is the abstract part of this definition, because you don't really have to have P and Q. You can have A, B, or you can have R and not P. So any of the statements work for this definition. They don't have to be called exactly P and Q, and that's important to realize. So in this case, when I look at F, F first, T second, the result brings me to false for the answer. So that's the one that I actually going to put right here, because it comes out from those two circle pieces, and since first is F, the second is true according to definition of and. So that's what I'm looking at right now. And one and the other. So we have conjunction. So the result is false. And then I should be able to complete this work by looking at the other definition, but this definition is called disjunction, right? P or Q. So same standard start as usual. So I put here also F, T, as well as both Fs. So for definition of conjunction, the only case when we had false was the last one, and everything above give us true. So when I take the statements in the parentheses, so in other words, when I'm looking at the one here that we just produced, together with not Q, which is the one before, then we have two statements that are not giving us false. That's for sure, because the only false here appears when both are falses. So the result has to be T, because of T's that come out always in here. But to be precise, if you really want to get the expression we have in 39. Let me write it in here in 39, which deals with R and P and not P, sorry. R. And not P that I have to put together with not Q. So technically, my preparations should include not Q part on the second place with a R and not P on the first place. Please notice these are here in the reverse order. First, we have not Q, which is true, and R and not P, which is false, right? But it doesn't really matter because in the table that we had selected our answer T from, in either case, TF or FT both give us the same result. But being on the careful side, I just wanted to stress that little extra detail to make sure we all see what is going on. So all you had to answer was letter T, and I believe that pretty much everyone did it perfectly correctly, which made me feel very good. So please notice that doing 39, that actually not entire 39, but only the quiz portion of it, what I noticed was that it's enough to just deal with one row of the table. You don't have to reproduce the entire table like I did in the exercise. And that's what actually I want to show you here. This big table that we struggled with for a while, that is analogous to example right there. So with all this possibilities, with 8 possibilities for P, Q, and R. So if one is asked to construct the truth table, then yes, looks like you're gonna have to go with all these little steps one at a time. But sometimes they just tell you, give the answer to the exercise when P is F, Q is F, and R is F. And that's exactly what I did. So I didn't really have to do all the 8 previous steps, but just one. And that's actually last set of exercises here in this page is talking about. So they don't actually ask you to produce entire table. They just say P is false, Q is true, R is false, and then just give the result for one of these statements. And that's really all they care about. Well, I already mentioned to you that using 3 quantifiers is getting too far, because one can say, what about if I had 4 quantifiers, say P, Q, R, and maybe S or something? So you're going to have a huge table in that case, and it's probably not leading to any meaningful conclusion anyway, because there's like lots of possibilities that it's so easy to get mixed into. So that's why I don't want to continue with this, because it'd be just a little bit too much for us to get stuck with. And would rather look at a couple of more interesting definitions that appear in the next section, in the section 3.4, that called conditional and biconditional statements that do actually nothing but bring us with a couple of more definitions that analogous to the ones that we already utilized before. And what we utilized before is right here on the bottom of my page that I just actually did utilized to do the previous exercise. So there were two definitions that we already used. First of them is for the disjunction, P or Q, and the second is for conjunction, P and Q. And looks like there is one more definition. They say it's a biconditional, so it deals with PQ and P then Q. So when I'm looking at this definition, I see only one failing statement at the place where from true, somebody makes a false conclusion. So if your premises are correct, then your conclusion also must be valid. So you don't make invalid conclusion when you're given correct information. You can think of it this way. So if you have a true statement, then the truth will follow. And if you have wrong premises, turns out, then you can make all kinds of conclusion, and that'd be absolutely correct. In other words, if P is false, then you can either conclude that true is Q is correct, or you can conclude that Q is incorrect. So if you have wrong original premises, then you can make all kinds of conclusion. So I can construct the table here as an example one. So this table will deal with not Q and not P. So how can I create that? Well, I guess the standard way, the way we usually did it. So I'm going to be preparing my P, preparing my Q, and that be as usual, both T's, T with F, then F with T, and finally F with an F, right? And then I'm going to very carefully notice that this is not symmetric type of definition. What does that mean? Well, symmetric in my case was previous pair, because it didn't really matter if T was first and F was second, the result was the same. And analogously, we had in the next definition with conjunction. T is first, F second, F first, T second. The result does not care, it's both false. Please notice that here, if T is for first and Q is false, the result is false. But if you switch them around, if you put false on the first position and then T, the result is not the same. They're not equal. So that makes it be not symmetric, if you could say that. And the reason I'm saying it is that I have to be very careful. In other words, my not Q has to be on the first position, and not P needs to be prepared to be on the second position, because for the conclusion, not Q, then not P, order matters. So what's first and what's the second? If you switch them around, the result is not going to be the same. So when I produce the truth table here, I have to watch out how I put those pieces in the table. And you can see that's exactly what they are doing here. So they want to make sure that they put not Q on the first place and then not P on the second place, but not vice versa, because order does matter. So now we quite automatically fill this table. So I can see that not Q will come from Q by simply placing the opposites. So instead of T, I put F. Instead of F, I put T. And again, instead of T, I put F. Instead of F, I put T. So this is my negation of Q, right? And then I do analogous with a P value. So I'm going to negate everything that sits on the first column. So first pair of true I put with a pair of F, right? And then second pair of F's I put with pair of true. So now I'm prepared, and I'm going to look at this table. And convenient way is to observe that there is only one false, which is right here. And it happens when first is T and the second is F. And looks like this is right there in the second row. So automatically I put false in here. So the point of story, I don't really have to think too hard or do anything. I just look for the first T, second F, and the result will be F. And the rest will be all T's. The rest is T for all of them. So looks like the use of tables is same for all of these exercises. And you can, of course, compare this result with what they have produced here on a step 3 of this exercise. So we see the answer for that procedure. There is one very interesting observation that I would like to make here. The table that I just produced actually shows that P then Q give us exact same result as not Q then not P. Look at this. Results here, TF, TT, and same is exact in here. And that makes me to notice that P then Q is exactly the same with not Q then not P. In fact, in logic, they say it's a contra positive. It has a special name for that particular not Q then not P. It's contra positive. So it's something that we'll see in the later sections. So contra positive is usually being utilized for the proofs, and in lots of cases, sometimes, let me make up an example. Let's say if you have a cat, then you need cat food, right? So if you have cat, then, well, then what? Well, you need to feed cats, so you get to buy cat food. Well, contrapositive will go backwards. We'll say, if you don't have to buy a cat food, then you don't have a cat. So you never buy any cat food. So what we make conclusion, people make conclusion that this person has no cat. So notice that the arrow will start to go backwards from Q to P, but both of them are negated. And if you start to think of it this way, you will start to get a feeling that indeed it looks like that's a same exact statement with so-called direct implication. So this is contrapositive. And I think that's a very interesting example. Our first encounter of such a statement, where people say of an equivalent statement. So it seems that this section starts to deal with more and more of the story. And yes, you do see there's more in it, and there be various truth tables that we're going to be constructing and also working with in here. So there are a whole bunch of various tables that people can work with. I would say my goal is not going to be going through every single little detail in here. My goal is just to introduce you with this implication today and maybe do a couple of exercises, because you can see that there could be P, Q, and R also involved. So it gets more and more, I don't want to use the word complicated, but long. When you do these problems, you might spend a lot of time in here. So, and finally, this section has another definition of so-called biconditional statement. I think I'll talk about it next time because it'd be a little bit too much. So biconditional, that has arrows going back and forth in both directions, we're going to utilize next time. So today, I think it'd be a little bit too much. I just want to say a couple of words about this conditional statement that goes only in one direction. And actually, next time I plan to do a review before your final exam. That'd be the actual plan. Oh, sorry, final, the midterm exam, right? A review before the midterm exam. So that's what I want to do next time, which is on Friday. The reason is that we're actually going to have our final exam next week, final midterm was going, midterm exam next week, which is going to be on Wednesday. Wednesday next week is our midterm because the Monday class is not going to be in session as it's a holiday. Did you know there is a President's Day weekend going to be this coming week? So it's a long weekend and there are no classes on Monday. So on Wednesday, we'll have a midterm. And then after the midterm, the Friday following week, we will actually continue talking about section 3.4. So today I just slightly touch it and I open this page with exercises for just in case if somebody really wants to do to try some homework exercises, then you can look at first couple of problems on this page. But I don't expect you to do anything from this right now. What I want to do is look at what we have actually covered so far and give you an idea what be assigned for the homework before our Wednesday midterm. So let me write it here.
Professor, I have a quick question.
Yes.
About the pictures of our homework. We have to put everything in PDF in order for you, so it doesn't be too heavy in order for you to receive it, right? Because I have a bunch of pages of homework. So I just want to make sure that it will not get stuck or you're not going to receive it.
Yes, that's a very good question, because when you take this online format of a class, you definitely want to make sure that your instructor will receive all of your work, because you worked hard. You say you have lots of pages and you definitely going to have a little bit of hard time making pictures of all that. So if possible, scan will be great if you can do scan and PDF file. But if you don't have a scanner, yes, you should send me pictures of your work, of all your work. And it's definitely not going to be one email, because emails, they have limitation. One picture is probably a couple of megabytes. So if you put more than 3 pictures in one email, then they're not gonna go through. And that's why you should send me multiple emails. And that's what people are actually doing. So it takes time, I know, but like 4, 5, 6 emails usually will be enough for that. And yeah, it might take a little bit of a time, but well, that's something that lots of people actually been doing, and so far nobody said that it didn't work. In fact, for this class, I don't think we have too many pages of homework. maybe you'll be sending me, like, say, 10 pages, maybe 15 pages, but well, it'd be probably like 5 or 6 emails. So I don't plan to give a quiz today. No, I just want to talk about homework right now, because that takes a little time to talk about all sections that one should do and try to send to me.
I have a question.
Yes.
So do we only do the questions until 30 or all of them, like every other odd?
Do only do question on 2:30? I missed that. Until what?
Like from 1 through 30, every other odd question, or like every question in the chapter, like every other odd question?
So what we should do, let's say section 3.4 was not touched. It'll be for next time. So far, if you look at, for example, section 3.3, the previous section, we don't do application exercises, so you don't need to worry about that page. We don't do practice plus exercises. That's another page. So that's practice plus here. So you don't need to worry about those. But I asked you to do every other odd exercises from those sections that covered in the class. So for example, from section 3 of chapter 3, we definitely went way beyond problem number 30. In fact, last class meeting, I spent entirely dealing with exercises like after those. So you can tackle a couple of problems in this group of exercises, because technically every other odd is 25, skip 27, right? 29, skip 31, 33, skip 35, 37, then skip 39. It's on the other column. Yeah, you could actually select a couple of problems here, and that should be good enough. And is there any way that I can send you pages through email? There is no way I can send you pages through email, because I cannot make copies of this textbook legally and send them to you through email. So this is something that I'm not allowed to do by the publishing company contract. And I kept sending you videos of every single lecture that I gave for this class. And just look at those videos. In those videos, I always record everything that is on the screen. So all you have to do is just open the video and you will see all of those pages. And if you don't want to do that, or it's not convenient for you, what all students, and I'm saying word all mean all students that take MGF 1106 in the other classes do, they just buy the textbook. So they just go to the bookstore, pay, and buy the textbook. So if you need the textbook, you just purchase it. I making videos of pages to help those people that are willing to take a little bit of pains to look at my videos and to actually get information from the screen of video. But if you don't want to do that, I'm not allowed to make any pictures and to distribute the textbook by email, the textbook that actually is being sold by publishing company. I'm not allowed to do that. So I'm sorry, but I cannot do that. Please understand. But I'm giving you an awesome opportunity. You have a free video of my lecture, and I keep telling, use it. In fact, if I was a student, I would extremely appreciate that, because those days when I was a student, there was no such a thing as videos of the lecture. So I had to be in class all the time and to write whatever the instructor would tell. So copy all those notes. It's a lot of work, if you can see. So if somebody just doesn't feel like watching videos and tries to put it all on the instructor to send all that, it's just not being ever never done in a community college or university environment. Just think about your other classes. So I don't think that any instructor will actually start copying the textbook for you and sending. Maybe some people do, but people do various things that you tell me. So, well, I don't want to even start talking about what other people do sometimes before they get fired, right? So people do various things. But the standard process is, of course, I cannot distribute any copies of this textbook because it's being sold by the bookstore. It's copyrighted material. But what I'm saying, since I'm taping those lectures for you, which I am allowed to do by the college, then because college actually pays for all those videos, then you can just look at the video and you see all of those pages. All you have to do is just click on those links that I email you, and you open that video. And I found out recently that pretty much nobody does it. So students don't bother if they miss a lecture to even look at the video that I sent after that. And well, that's disappointing because you get all the information sent to you. So please realize it and utilize it. It doesn't take too long. It would take you much less time to click on the video and watch it. Just browse, fast forward it, rather than me giving you all this little talk. And the reason I do this because I get a feeling that some people don't even realize that they have it all already in their email mailbox. But yes, not in the format of pictures. They need to browse through the videos, so it might take maybe an extra 10 minutes of your time to fast forward. It doesn't take too long. If you try it, I'm sure you're not gonna have such questions because you'll say, hey, it's a piece of cake. I just fast forward and I can see all that right away. So try it. That's the
Professor, there is another thing about the homework that I want to share with you is that there were some classes that you did some odd exercises, okay? So what I did is that, let's say I did as homework number 1, but then you did in class number 5. So I jumped number 5 and then I did number 7, for example. So I'm just saying that I didn't redo as a homework what you did as an odd number during class, but I did I kind of skipped that one, but I did the next odd, you know? So my question is, I just send you pictures from my homework, or you want also all the notes that I took during class? Doesn't matter? Okay.
doesn't matter
At
what
all.
numbers you do.
Okay.
Some people don't like odd numbers. They say, in some cultures, they say, you know, odd numbers are no good, Alex, no
You
good.
just want to see some work.
I want to do, yeah, I want to do just evens. So if you just do evens, that's fine with me. Just do something. My message about homework is always the same. Just do something from the section. I understand that it may be too much every other odd. Well, I put this in a syllabus depending on the student's need. Some students want to be an A student, excellent. So for excellent student, do every other odd. If you just want to pass this class and forget about it, some students actually I know just need a D for this class to get their AA degree. They never transfer anywhere. They just need to have some kind of grade other than fail. So they say, Alex, I'm good with a D. Just tell me if I do like 3 problems per section, would that be good enough for me to get a D? Yes, of course. See, it all depends on what you need. If that's a satisfactory for you to just barely pass this class, well, just do a little something. If you cannot do anything at all, I already gave you those lectures. In those lectures, as you mentioned, I did some odd exercise. Sometimes I do some even exercises. So whatever I did in class, you could just copy on the pieces of paper, send it to me as your homework, and you will get full credit for homework. So never count how many problems you did, what problems you did right, what problems you did wrong. Maybe you did everything completely wrong. Well, you still will get full credit. So just check and see if you attempted, if you tried to do something outside of class. And if you did, great, I'll give you full credit. So I would say with homework, I never been picky. And I think that's a very good question, because now I think everyone will realize that you don't really have to be in panic when you do homework. Just do some work outside of class and send it to me by email, by multiple emails. I know it may not fit in one. And once you send it to me, I give you full credit. So it should not be really hard. And as I said, you do those that I listed in the syllabus, or if you happen to do a little bit different odd numbered problems, or you do less of them, that's absolutely fine. So please don't worry about it. As long as I get these results from you sometime around the midterm, that'd be just great. Now, there was another question wondering how you turn in the midterm. And the answer is there is only one way you can turn in the midterm. It's by email. So you need to do exact same thing as you do with homework. So piece of paper, pen, pencil, write your solution. And then you need to make a picture and email this work, the midterm work, to me, as well as your homework. And you will also get a result, a credit on your midterm. But please make sure that you send it to me separately. So if you check in your midterm, you noticed your email, you noticed I already sent you practice midterm exercise. I did it a couple of days ago, or yesterday, I think. I sent you practice midterm. So this way you could start practicing on it. And this Friday, I plan to talk about midterm in very, very detail. So you will know for sure what will be on the midterm, how to turn it in, when to turn it in, how it's going to look like. In fact, it's going to look like same as I already sent you by email. So you can start to think about it and you will see all that. And that's a very good idea, I think, that you check your emails, the school emails. That's very important. And as I said, that Friday, I'm gonna do the review for the midterm. And that's when I'm planning to do on Friday. So the midterm will consist of 2 exercises. So first exercise will look like one I sent to you, and there will be another exercise that we will talk about on Friday. So how you turn this in, you make picture of your work and send it to me by email. So this is online type of a class. So you need to communicate with instructor by email with all your work. Now, how do you know what you get on your exam? Well, exact same way how you know what you're getting on your quizzes. I put results on the Blackboard. So once I grade it sometime after Wednesday, so probably on Thursday or so, before Friday next week, I will put your midterm grade on the Blackboard. And of course, we'll be able to discuss it that following Friday. I will be able to do the midterm for you. So it'll be a pretty standard. I'm not planning to hide anything from my students, neither their grades or nothing else. And you can freely discuss the midterm with me, but not by email. That's the one, I guess, disappointing part of all of the classes that we have, because there's a federal organization named FERPA that watches after me not to communicate any grades by emails. For some reason, they allow me to put your grades on the Blackboard. They do allow me to talk about it right now using Zoom program or put it in the Zoom chat, but not by email. I have no idea why, but that's their rule. So, well, that's federal rule. So they definitely have their own reason for that. But yes, Friday, I plan to discuss the midterm in very detail. So I think it will be a very, very good idea that in the meantime, you just look at that email that I sent you, and maybe tonight try to actually do that little exercise and see how it looks. I know it looks very unusual, and that's the reason why I sent it to you earlier, and we're gonna discuss it on Friday. And I'm sure on Friday you will be having a very, very clear picture what will be on the midterm and how to do it. So that's good that you are really concerned with it and care, and that's great. And again, just let us wait till Friday, because right now I was actually planning to tell you what sections for the homework you should actually send to me. And in order to be able to do this, I want to go back to the contents of the textbook. So go back to this textbook. Maybe I can clear all this mess here. So as I already said, I'm not really great in homework. You send me the homework, you get full credit for it. It's pretty simple. So when will I be able to give you full credit for your homework? As soon as you send it to me. So you can send to me your homework anytime starting from today, because right now I'm going to tell you what exactly you should put on your homework. I'm talking about what sections you should put on your homework. So when you send me your homework, well, I'll receive it, and I will definitely record your homework grade in my notes, which is usually 100%. If somebody sent me email with nothing in it, well, you will not get anything. So I will reply that, could you please resend me your homework? Because usually, sometimes it happens that attachment did not go through because somebody sometimes didn't wait long enough for this whole file to be attached, or something else happened, internet went off. So there are various technical issues. So, and that's why, since I realized that there could be something out of your control, I never actually downgrade anybody for this. I just send you email a reminder saying, could you please resend me your homework? Or if I never received it, I just remind people to still email me their homework. And that's why it's very important that you keep checking your school emails. So anyways, I'm going back to the sections that we covered on homework, and we started with chapter 10. So we looked at sections 10.1 all the way through section 10.5. We didn't do the whole section 10.5. That's why I kind of put it wiggly. We just did a couple of exercises, but that's what we have been actually working on. So 10.1 through 10.5 actually means 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, 10.4, and then 10.5. So we did look at few sections of chapter 10. So for homework, you should only do sections that were covered in class. So if something is skipped, never covered in class, it means you're not responsible for these sections. So don't do them if I skip those sections. So then we looked at chapter 2. We started to talk about sets, subsets, produced Venn diagrams, and we went from section 2.1 through 2.3. Well, we kind of looked at section 2.4, so I put kind of underline for that section. If you already did some problems from it, it's great. You can send it to me. If not, then it's fine. You can just stop at section 2.3. because 2.4 has 3 sets, maybe a little bit longer. Next was chapter 3. And I remember I told you not to worry about first couple of sections, right? They were kind of odd problems. So you could just look at section 3.3 and send me homework from that section. We, in fact, spent a lot of time on that section, like a couple of class meetings, right? So that'd be the last section for homework for now. And as I said, if you already have done these sections, then you can just send them to me tonight or anytime before the midterm exam, anytime before next Wednesday. I think you have plenty of time to make copies or to scan, or if you don't have any ability to make copies or scan, you can just bring your notebook to the college library and they will help you to do that. So there are various ways to submit your work, but please make sure that you clearly tell me your name when you be sending it to me, because I know sometimes people send it from cell phone that belongs to your neighbor and the name is totally different on that email. So make sure that I know who you are, what class you're in, and that this is your homework. So I know that you did homework, because as I said, some people do even problems, not the odd problems. And that's fine, that's acceptable for homework. I accept any of your work, as long as you do it to prepare for the class. Outside of class work is called homework, so it's fine. I just don't want to mix it with your extra credit exercises. Remember, to make up for some quizzes, you can do extra credit exercises. So please send them to me separately. Tell Alex, this is my extra credit. And separately, Alex, this is my homework. Because I know that some people like to pile up and midterm and homework and extra credit, everything together. And who knows, maybe I may not notice that there is a midterm there. And again, this will jeopardize your midterm grade, right? So you want to make sure that when you take an online class, you clearly say, Alex, this is my midterm, and send it in separate. On Wednesday, you will get midterms, you do it and send it as separate email. And then separately send me extra credit if you decide to do any of those. If not, it's fine. And then your homework, so just say, this is my homework. So this way, for sure, the grader knows, and that way you will get your credit 100%. So you don't want to start to mix things around, and that's main message. So as I said, I will be talking about the midterm exam on Friday. I will be doing the problem that I sent to everyone in class. In the meantime, please look at it, think about it. It's in the emails. And the same exact way, the midterm will be administered on Wednesday next week. So you will also get email. So you should just click on it, open it, do it on a piece of paper, and email me all of your work. So I hope this is clear. And of course, it needs to be clarified more. And I will do this on Friday next time we meet. Looks like time for us to end for today. So please collect all your homeworks, put them together in emails, and you can send them to me. Sure. From now on, you know what it is. So I'm waiting for your homework.
Professor, we have until midterm to send you the homework, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, sometimes people ask, Alice, can I send it to you next day after midterm? And I say yes. And some people say, Alice, can I send you next week after midterm? And say yes. And how about next month? Okay, yes. But the idea is try to do your homework before the midterm, because this way you are preparing yourself for that particular midterm, right? So it makes more sense to study before the exam, not after. So it'd be a good idea that you try to do it over this long weekend. That'd be.
So we gotta do it before next Friday or this Friday.
You can do it. Yeah, you can do it before next Friday. That's also fine.
Okay.
Yes, yes. If there is anything else, please don't hesitate. Ask. If nothing else, there is no quiz today. So we'll meet
And
again.
for chapter 3, we only do 3.3, right? Okay.
If you already did 3.2, 3.1, you can also send them to me. That's fine. Yes, have a great day.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you for coming over. So we'll meet again on Friday. Oh, let me stop to record.